What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the first episode of Max World. So many of y'all already know that prison is a big part of my story. I spent a lot of years inside prison, and I decided to start my show off with showing you one of the main things inside prison. And I know a lot of you guys are curious about this, how weapons are made inside of prison, how normal household items can be used and turned into a deadly weapon. Now, I have invited my good friend and a master craftsman. I met him inside prison, and I've seen him put in like real work on weapons, and that's why I decided to do this show, and that's why I decided to call him. With no further ado, come on, Duke, let's get it. It's my guy. What's good? So listen, come over here. Come on this side. Come on this side. Yes, sir. So now, what do we have here right now? We got a comb. We got a brush. We have a toothbrush. We have a nail clipper. What the hell is this for? What do you do with this?
This is like an all-purpose tool.
You have a razor, which they give you inside prison. You got a hanger, and you have a cooking spoon, which they wouldn't give you, but you can like steal them inside of a mess hall, right? So now that we have showed you all of these weapons and we gave you a rundown of how things go on in prison, we're gonna show you how these things are made. Step by step, how you can turn regular household daily items into weapons.
Cavity creeps.
Let's get it. Again, this is not to glorify prison. This is not to teach any kids how to make weapons or anything like that. This is just to give you a glimpse into a world that we've came from.
Yes.
And to just show you different mentalities that are prevalent in the world. Okay, now, so the first weapon we are going to make is called the GLOCK. Now, why is this called the GLOCK?
Because it's made out of plastic, and the GLOCK 9mm is also made out of plastic. So it's really the prison version of the GLOCK 9mm.
So now, why is it so important to have weapons made out of plastic?
You avoid metal detection.
That's very important because there are metal detectors throughout the whole prison. So it's very important to be able to pass a metal detector, because if you don't pass a metal detector, then the officer will search you and do a physical search, and if they find this, you're going to the box.
You're done.
You're done. So what does it take to make a GLOCK? We have a couple items here that would be needed to make this weapon, right? So we have here a t-shirt, regular t-shirt, a lighter. You got a rubber band. What would be the rubber band?
Rubber band helps give grip.
And then I see a slab right here.
This slab of concrete, you find this pretty much everywhere. Your cell floor will be made out of concrete, or sometimes even the walls, whether it be a slop sink, anywhere that you can gain access to concrete, you'll be able to shape shift, whether it be plastic and or metal, because metal is also malleable as well.
All right, so let's get to it.
Let's get to it. Okay, so the first thing you would need is obviously your brush, right? And a lighter. Purchase these small lighters in commissary, matches, whatever, anything that gives flame. Right? And the first thing you would do is burn off the bristles. So you will burn off the bristles as such. So once you melt off the bristles, now this is what you have left. Now you got something to work with, right? So the next thing is, you gotta be careful because it's hot. Oof. Shit. Damn, bro, shit burned me. Okay, so now that we got our bristles removed, the next step would be to shape it. So let's take it over to our slab of concrete. I'll show you how it's done. It's already starting to take shape from its original shape. You see, from the very beginning, you start to make sure to create the concave, so that way you have a point. So that way you get the concave, the bevel. Just aim a nice little edge on it. Okay, we're about done here. I mean, you can do this over and over again and continue to refine it just like anything else. But for the most part, we're about done here.
Now, this is that, right?
Yes.
Okay, so now I see you have a t-shirt, or you ripped the t-shirt, tied it around with some rubber bands. What is this for? Why to do this?
Well, it's actually so you have a handle, you have a grip,
okay.
And the little loop there is so it's like a no slip. You know, you wrap it around. So
you put it around your hand.
You put it around your wrist. Exactly. You wrap it around a couple times.
So why put it around the wrist?
So that way, in the case if you do unfortunately happen to find yourself in a knife fight, you don't want it to fall out your hand.
How do you make this handle?
You can use a bed sheet or a t-shirt.
All right. In this case, we have a t-shirt.
We have a t-shirt, old t-shirt.
So how would you do that? What would you do?
So you would just take the t-shirt and you would just rip pieces of it as such, like that. You just rip it like that as much as you can, right? So you would make a series of these, and you'll make twine out of it. See?
And just wrap it around.
You start the basis of your loop, like that. Like that. Then you would take this, and you would start by wrapping it around like this. Now you have the start of your handle, and you will just continue this process all the way through
until it looks like
taking additional shit and just wrapping it. Take the rubber band and you put the rubber band on so it ties it all down. You never find yourself where you have to have one of these and or have to use one of these. But if you do, at least now you're in a better position to be able to protect yourself.
Use condoms. Okay, so now that we're done with the Glocks, we're gonna move on to the next weapon, which is kind of similar, but it's different. Here we have the ice pick. This, I feel, is more dangerous to me than the other one, the other Glock. And the reason why I feel like it's more dangerous is because it's longer, it's more narrow, and it can actually like cause a little more harm. Like if you hit somebody in the neck with this would cause some damage. You hit somebody in the eye with this, it would cause more damage. And because it's more narrow, it just has more fitting room.
That's a very accurate way to describe it. It has more fitting room.
Yeah.
I've never actually heard it put that way, though. That's pretty
exactly. Good. So, all right, let me ask you a question. Inside prison, if you had this item and this item, right, would you make it and just have it stashed there, or would you have it just sitting there and make it when the opportunity comes, when you need it? What's the upside and downside?
That's a good thing. Well, like the first Glocks that we showed, those are something that you would make and have there stashed. But something like this, when you're talking about like a toothbrush, you know, again, before and after, this is something that you would just have there, you know what I mean, in the stash, and in the event that something did happen, it'd be like a quick move. You could bust that move really quick.
How long would it take you?
5 minutes, 10 minutes.
So 5 minutes, you can turn this into that. And the reason why you would just leave this there in your cell, like so, like these things in your cell, is because you can get a search at any time. So if you get a cell search and they find these items, they're not gonna look at that as a weapon. But if they see this, it's a weapon. You're going to the box, right? And how long would you go to the box for this?
Minimum is 90 days to a year.
Yeah, even more.
Even
right?
more, depending.
You could do 3 years in the box for this, right? So my guy Duke, you just said that you can make this weapon in less than 5 minutes.
Less than 5 minutes, bro.
My guy Dave and Iggy, they said that they don't think that you can do that.
Well, there's only one way to show.
Let's have a challenge. Let's get it.
Challenge time.
All right, Duke, are you ready?
Yes, we have everything.
Less than 5 minutes, right?
We have everything we need right here, bro.
All right, you ready?
Ready.
Get ready.
Ready.
Get set.
Are we timing?
Yes.
Okay, let's go. I'm ready.
Get ready. Get set. Get set. Go.
Here we go. done. So how did I do?
You did it under 3 minutes.
Under 3 minutes.
I told you guys, don't you ever doubt my guy. So now that we got done with the ice pick, it's on to the big dog. And when I mean the big dog, this is the big dog. They'll shut down the whole jail for this shit. You know what I'm saying? This is called the Bone Crusher. Now, why is this called the Bone Crusher, dude?
Because it's actually a piece of hardened steel.
Yeah, there's no bending. This is steel. What's the difference between getting stabbed by a GLOCK and getting stabbed by one of these?
Well, the GLOCK is definitely gonna penetrate. It's gonna reach depth. This is actually gonna penetrate deeply.
It's gonna go in.
It's gonna go in. You're gonna probably puncture
like a couple organs, artery.
Yeah, all that. Arteries.
The GLOCK is would be a little more superficial, unless depending where you hit it.
Exactly. If you're going for an eye or neck, that'd be something different.
Yeah, but this you can hit anywhere.
Yeah, anywhere and it's done.
So, all right, how was this made?
Well, it's pretty much made the same way. You know, you need concrete, of course, to fashion it. But in this case, we have a spoon.
Does everybody have access to this?
No. Select individuals, workers primarily, would have access to these things. And if, in the event that one of these things, which does happen, comes up missing, they'll like fire all of the workers and ship them all out, or whatever the case may be. Because
but you can still find these.
But you definitely find.
They would shut down the mess hall. They'll go searching everywhere.
Never find it.
But if this is stolen, they'll never find it, and people will just have to get fired. But if this comes up missing, this is what comes out. This is the result.
Facts. So the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna remove this, because we ain't gonna be using this to eat no more. Well, you know.
Yeah.
But
you'll be using it to eat in a different way.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Eat food is a different terminology. It's very popular in prison. So
what does that mean? What terminology? What does eat food mean?
In prison terminology, eat food, you know, it's popular gang terminology. It means that you actually, you know, cut someone or stab someone, and therefore you ate their food. So then I would take this and you would go over to your concrete. You would definitely want to be and have some music on, or have someone looking out for you in a very, very, very secluded place to actually start working on this, because this is going to make a lot of noise. So you will begin start. Yeah, that's just about done. You see that? How does this look, bro?
You see? This shit looks sharp as fuck, bro. This shit will cause some damage.
Cause some damage.
So,
yeah.
So what's the next step on this?
The next step will be to bind it, put a nice handle, choker, and we're good.
I got a question. How many years did you do in prison?
24 years in prison.
24 years. So you was there in the 90s.
Yeah.
New York State prison is not a cakewalk now, but in the 90s it was very, very hard, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So can you give me an experience that you had with one of these bone crushers?
Okay, so definitely. In my experience, I was in Clinton. I was young, got caught up. At that time, I was already off Rikers Island, so I did 2 years on Rikers Island.
So you was fresh.
I was probably maybe like my first year really up north, my 15th month. Everything is big to me, everything is scary, but it's either fight or flight at the very basics. So I learned how to make a knife. That's what somebody told me very early on. They learned how to make a knife, because they didn't play that razor shit up north. Through twisted things, I found myself in a very dangerous situation. And I found myself across from someone who was armed with something like this. And I myself had a weapon very, very similar to this. The only thing was, though, I didn't have this, the safety, I call it.
Why?
Because at the time, I thought that it was like a hindrance. Like the OGs would try to tell me like, yo, young blood, if you're gonna fuck with that, this is how you need to do this, you know what I mean? Of course, I didn't want to hear that, because I thought it was a hindrance, that if police came and I had to throw it or whatever, it was gonna stay stuck on my wrist. I was afraid of that. And because of that, I didn't have it attached to the weapon that I had that day. And in the midst of me and him squaring off, standing in front of each other, and literally trying to stab each other, my knife fell out my hand. And when my knife fell out my hand, it was like a surreal moment. I froze, he froze for a second, but in that second when he froze, you know, I reached down for it and I grabbed it, and in that moment he lunged and attacked, first to my chest and then he came around and he was able to penetrate my left side. It was in and out because thankfully I was able to pick up my knife and pivot off of him. I moved off him at the same time, like I went with it as opposed to going against it. My fight response told me to move with it. I moved with him and I was able to get a better position, and I was able to put him down.
You know, the main goal should be to go home, right? Your main goal should be to go home. And that is to not put yourself in positions where you would further increase your time, but also you have to protect yourself. So if somebody is trying to kill you, you have to do everything that you possibly can to survive so you can make it home, right? So, you know, the best bet is to not involve with this type of stuff inside prison, but if you have to do what you gotta do. Once you're committed into a knife fight, you shouldn't be worried about if you're gonna get caught with this, because that should be the least of your worries, because your opposition is gonna have something. He's not worried about getting caught. Life and death at that moment. He's worried about taking you out. So, you know, this is very important. This is lifesaver. All right, so now that we're done with the bone crusher, we're on to the next weapon. And this weapon is called the bubble razor. So now, the reason why they call this a bubble razor is because this blade comes from this shaver. And this shaver is what they give you to shave your face. So every day in the morning, you can go to the CO's office, which is called the bubble. You go to the bubble and you ask the officer for a razor. You give him your ID, you take a razor. Now there are ways to steal this from the bubble, right? So these are kind of like, you know, accessible. And what you would do is you would take the razor from out of here, and then you would make your razor, right? Yes. And this is what Duke is gonna show us how to make a bubble razor from this regular shaver.
So you take the razor first, you have to get the razor, and you have to remove the blade. So how you remove the blade is you take your big nail clippers, which you purchase in commissary. This is like the jail version of the
Swiss Army knife.
Swiss Army knife, definitely.
So now you just burnt the plastic off.
Yeah, we burned the plastic off to expose the blade.
To expose the blade.
So you're exposing the blade. Okay, so now you see we've removed the blade from the actual razor using our trusty Swiss Army knife.
Swiss Army clipper.
But not, you know. But so now we have the blade. So what you want to do, the blade is very flimsy, but it's also very, very sharp. So what you want to do is you want to then take it and you want to adhere it to something hard, something solid, to give it some integrity, to make the blade more stable.
And in this case, you have
In this case, we have a state toothbrush, okay? Which you can go to the bubble as well, and you can get a toothbrush at any time. There you go. So then again, you would just take you would take some plastic, you know, cellophane, anything, any type of plastic you would get that's gonna melt, make it like twine, and then you would just start layering it on so that when you melt it, it stays in place. Burn just enough to hold it. See, and there we have our bubble razor.
So I actually have an experience with this bubble razor. When I was on Rikers Island, I got cut with one of these bubble razors. I'm pretty sure it was just like this. And it was over the phone. I was on the phone. The phone was hanging. So you know how people do it on Rikers Island is they claim phones. And the way they do it is they'll leave the phone hanging, and that's a sign of don't touch the phone, right? But I seen the phone hanging I seen nobody was using the phone. I checked the phone, it was dial tone, so meaning like there wasn't nobody on the end of the phone, so I started using the phone. And then somebody came behind me and tapped me, was like, yo, that's my phone. And I was like, all right, you gonna get it after me. So I was kind of like naive to everything at that time, and I kept my back towards the gallery. I was finishing my phone call, and during that time, he went and got his bubble razor. And then he came back, and I was still facing the other way on a phone like this. And he came behind me, and he went to cut me. But instead of me moving against it, I went this way. So I went with the cut instead of running from it. If I ran this way, it would have increased the force of the cut. So it would have made the gash even deeper. But because I went this way, it really just made a superficial like abrasion. After that, because Rikers Island was so, corrupt at the time, they were supposed to segregate me and whoever else was there, even if I wasn't telling. But they just moved me to the other side, so we still had access to each other, me and the person that cut me. 2 or 3 days later, I waited for him in the corridor, and I was standing outside waiting for him when he was going, and they was getting ready to go out to Law Library, and he left. He went back. I had a razor. I didn't have a bubble razor. I had a Gemstar razor. It's the razors that they have in the stores or whatever. And then he saw me, and then he went back and he went to get a bone crusher, something made out of metal. When the doors opened, he came out. So I'm standing there, and I had my razor in my hand. So I'm standing there like, all right. When he pulled this thing out, this shit was like long like this. It was like boom. And I was like, oh shit, I saw the rust on it. That shit looked rusty. I was like, yo, what the fuck? But, I was committed, and my pride and everything else wouldn't let me leave, right? So I had this little razor in my hand, and he had this long fucking bone crusher in his hand, right? So there was no going back. I couldn't run after that. So he swung the bone crusher. I blocked it, and then I went in with the cut. Boom, and I started cutting him. And I saw blood. So once I saw blood, I just started going, and I kind of forgot everything over here. I forgot about his weapon. I was supposed to secure his weapon and further go on. And he, in turn, swung twice and hit me in my neck. Thank God it wasn't this man sharpening the weapon, because the weapon wasn't sharp. If it was sharp like how he just did it, it would have went through my neck. You know what I'm saying? I would have had a problem.
Thank God.
Thank God. You know what I mean? And that's a story that one of my experiences with these weapons inside prison, which again, I would like to say this is not cool. There's nothing cool about this. We do not condone anything like this. We don't condone anybody going to prison. We're not here to glorify what prison or anything about it. All we're trying to do is just shed some light on how savage life is in there, how dangerous life is in there, and how hopefully, you would never experience that. Okay, so now, thank you for joining us for our first episode of Max World. We hope that you enjoyed the video. We hope that you learned something. Remember, we do not condone anything about prison. We do not condone y'all going to prison. Make sure you stay far away from prison. It's not a good place, kids. Now, listen, thank you. We want you to make sure you subscribe to our channel. Make sure you like it. Make sure you comment it. And also, please visit our website to get our merch, baby. Red Money China Mac merch. Thank you again. God bless. Mac.
Pow! Red Money, baby.